Negotiation when it comes to the inspection repair list is a big strong point of mine. When you're in negotiations and you're battling against the seller or the buyer and you have this list of repair items, there's certain verbiage to use. Hey guys, Jeff Brower here. I'm out here on this snowy, cool day in January, right along Lake Erie. So I wanted to talk today about what questions to ask when you're talking to a realtor that's gonna try to sell your home. So first of all, I always recommend interviewing at least 3. No matter if you know someone, even if you know me and you wanna call me, I always recommend interviewing 2 others. And why do I say that? Well, a lot of times you don't know what the commission is not the only thing to ask a realtor, and they might have skills that would help you. I think one thing to ask is how a realtor differentiates themselves from their competition. So ask that one simple question. You'll get a realtor that will, they may come in and try to tell you, oh, I post my stuff on social media. Well, 92% of realtors, according to NAR, use social media. So that's not really a differentiating factor. So ask them what differentiates them specifically, and you'll get a lot of, strange answers, but most realtors, what they offer are pictures and paperwork, and that's not really more different than what a homeowner can do themselves if they're listing for sale by owner. So what actually are they gonna do to help you sell your home? And so my answer to that, and I always talk about this on my YouTube, is that I'm also a home inspector in Ohio. I am one of 52 in the state to have both designations. And that helps when I'm looking with buyers. I'm in the crawl space, I'm in the attic, I'm crawling around where somebody else is not gonna go that's dressed up in a nice tie. I'm in my overalls or, in something that's gonna allow me to get dirty. I'm looking for something that's gonna, come up and affect my buyers later on. Maybe they get into contract on a home and, 2 weeks later they have the inspection and the inspector comes back with this list of items that need repaired or replaced, and you can't negotiate correctly with the seller, or the seller doesn't want to hear it, and they say take it or leave it, and then you get canceled out of the contract, you lose $500 on an inspection, and then you're out 2 weeks, and maybe during that time the home of your dreams came up for sale and you missed it. So when I'm going through with buyers, when I'm looking at a property with them, I'm looking for every little thing that I can point out, and I'm actually trying to steer them away from the property. Now, why in the hell would I do that as a realtor? Because I make money on a commission when a property sells. Well, when I'm working with buyers, I want them to have every advantage possible, which is why I went and got my home inspector's license, because I can go up there and see things. I can go up in the attic and see, I see some bio growth in the attic, which is what we are taught to describe as mold, because unless you have mold actually tested, you can't call it mold. But I can go up there and see things like that. I can go in the crawl space and look at the foundation, see if there's any issues. And I tell my buyers when I'm walking through with them, everything that I see that a home inspector might list in an inspection. And this helps them to make an offer or not. And if they decide that it might be too much for them, then I'd rather steer somebody away than steer them to a property. And I'd much rather keep showing houses to find the perfect property for my buyers than have them get into contract on a home and possibly have the inspector maybe even miss it. I always recommend having a home inspection done. We have to have that disclosure signed. If someone is going to buy a property and they say we don't need an inspection, well, as a realtor with Keller Williams, we have to have an acknowledgement signed that says that we recommend a home inspection, no matter if you have one or not. That's the one way that I help my buyers. I am drone certified, so when I'm going around with my buyers, I also put my drone up in the air and I'm looking at the roof line, at the chimney, looking for things that I can spot out. I'd much rather steer my buyers away from a money pit than ever make any type of commission. When it comes to my sellers, this is another way where my home inspection license shines. When I go to interview to sell a home for a seller, I go and interview with them, and we sit down and go over the market statistics, all the analysis of the property, the comparables, come up with a price. But I also go walk around the property and I say, this is what I would spot out as an inspector. This is what I'm seeing. And I'm always honest with my home inspection license. The biggest thing that helps my sellers is when an inspection report comes back on their home. The buyer gets into contract at a certain price. They have an inspector come in and they submit this report back to me, back to the selling realtor. And in home inspector school, we are taught to call out every little thing that we can. And it makes sense because of liability reasons. If we don't call out this little item, then we could be held accountable. So we are taught in home inspector school to call out every little item, every nitpicky little thing we are taught to put on our report. Now, this is a good thing for buyers because they can use this report to come back and say, hey, Mr. Seller, we want you to reduce the price by $20,000 or repair all these items, whatever it is. Well, as a home inspector and your realtor selling your home, I can go through that list of items and audit that list to make sure that everything is correct, make sure that everything is in order, and we can go through and see, what is a big item, what is a small item, what is best for negotiation. When you're in negotiations and you're battling against the seller or the buyer, and you have this list of repair items, there's certain verbiage to use when you are negotiating. Now, usually when I am a buyer's agent and I'm going in and I say, I want you guys to repair these items, well, we will list out the 30 items that the home inspector called out, but the big 5 are the ones that are real important because half the items are just small little tiny things that anybody could fix themselves. But in negotiations, what we will do is we will take those 30 items, we will list them out, and we will say, excuse me, Mr. Seller, we will take care of these 25 items, but we want you to take care of these 5. Now, that looks a lot better than just coming back to the seller with a list of the 5 items and saying, we want you to repair all of these. Because if you take the list of 30 and you tell them, oh, we're gonna cover all these other 25, you guys don't have to worry about that, it presents itself a lot better to the seller than if you just said, here's 5 items, we want you to repair everything. So the negotiation when it comes to the inspection repair list is a big strong point of mine, and I'm able to audit these inspection reports. And I have had cases in the past where I am able to negate certain findings. I've been able to contest inspectors with references and have repair items and I've had repair items drop from the list and had price reduction requests negated. I actually had one specific example a couple of years ago when it came to joist dimensions on a home, and the inspector was wrong, and I provided the documents from the Ohio Building Code, and he removed that item from his repair list. And this particular item, the buyers were requesting a price reduction of $20,000. Now that's a big deal. And so when I saw that, I started doing my research, and I was able to go back to the inspector, negate the finding. He took the finding off of his list, which then eliminated the price reduction request by the buyers. So it saved the sellers essentially $20,000. Now, when it comes to interviewing an agent, the commission is a big deal, but you have to think about the skills that the realtor has